Hello, everyone. I have with me today someone that has taken pickleball travel to a whole new level that you might not even know existed. Welcome to Travel That Touches Your Soul podcast and video channel, where we bring you the people and the places around the world that help you connect with something greater than yourself. I'm Karen Cleveland, and my guest today is Melinda Alcosser. Hi, Melinda. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Karen. It's great, great, great to be here.
I can't wait to talk to you. Yes, just to let everyone know, Melinda helps heart-centered people and communities design travel experiences that support their journey of connecting, honoring, caring for self, one another, and the sacred home we call Earth, which speaks directly to my heart as well. So, as I said, it's so great to have you here. You do some very unique experiences that I have not seen before. One of them that I'm going to share some pictures with is the pickleball experiences. It looks like I see a pickleball racket around your shoulder.
I'm holding a bag of items that we're giving to a school in the Dominican Republic. And this is a woman that I connected with 3 years ago when I started in the travel industry, actually. Before that, I've been an educator for a long time. It's a whole other story. But what's important to me is that in my experience as a traveler and now as a person who designs travel is how travel can open hearts and minds. So I call it With Heart. And Carmen here is the person that invited me into the school. They didn't know what I was talking about when I first called. I took a group of people to the Club Med in Punta Cana for a pickleball experience. And on my Carpe Dinkum, seize the dink, pickleball trips, I bring some wonderful coaches and we have, a pickleball focused experience, but I always like to include something I call a with heart experience. And in this case, there's a school in the Dominican Republic that I called and I said, we'd love to come over to your school and work with students. And also if you have anything that you would like, any supplies that we might be able to bring and offer. And I got a message back, we don't know what you're talking about. Can we meet you first? So I arrived a day before the group and went, and I do speak some Spanish, but with Carmen here as a translator, and meeting with the principal and describing really what I was trying to do, which simply was to gift them some items, but also to have an experience with students to make a connection. And once they understood that it was like a real thing, they completely welcomed us with open arms.
That's fantastic.
And the intention really, for me is that a lot of times, and this was an all-inclusive resort style vacation, people won't leave the resort. People will be at the resort, feel perfectly safe and comfortable there, feeling like if they leave the resort, there's some danger or something that, would happen potentially, or just not really put the effort because, yeah, you're on vacation and you have a place to be, but being in the country, being somewhere has much more to do with, I believe, meeting the people and really experiencing the place. So I arranged for a bus transportation. And at the first year we did it, a half dozen of the participants joined me. We went and we had 40 students and we broke them up into groups and we played with them. We did activities with them. And these were middle school and high school students. And everyone said this was the highlight of their trip.
Yeah.
And the last time we did it, which was this photograph, was the third year. And we had brought a pickleball net and paddles. And we came back and, actually played pickleball with the students and with the staff. And again, and this time about 15 of my participants came. And this was a sisterhood of pickleball. I do women's trips for some of them. And again, they said, I am so taken by how welcoming the students were, how enthusiastic, and just really, I think really did change the paradigm in terms of what it could be to be in the Dominican Republic and experience the people and the place and the culture, a little more directly. So that's my goal. And it's exciting because it is met, each time I do these with heart experiences.
That's fantastic. And I think it's so important. You're right. What's interesting is these communities are so impacted by these big resorts, whether whether it's negative or positive, sometimes it's the
Mhm.
trash, or sometimes they are making money somehow because the resort's there. So it can be a mix.
Sure.
And the visitors, the guests, never even leave the resort and see the impact that they're making. Again, negative or
Mhm.
positive.
Right.
But that's great that you make an effort to leave and you brought things with them. So when they got the pickleball racket
Mhm.
and the nets, did they know what it was?
Some of them have, yes. Some of the staff had experienced it, not very much. So, and we didn't make it a serious thing. We just helped the kids kind of hit the ball and enjoy that kind of an experience. But they were laughing, and we had probably 60 kids this last time, and so
Wow.
we had to rotate them through, and
How
but it's
fun.
it's yeah, it's really a grand time.
I mean, they're never going to forget it either, you know,
Right. And
either.
now, the great thing too is that I have this relationship with this school. And so when I do go back, whenever I bring a pickleball group, I call them and I say, Carmen, here are our dates. And she says, Mi casa es tu casa,
Nice.
So it's that kind of relationship. And it's great for the students, to see. Actually, the first year we went, one of the students said it was the very first time anyone from the United States had ever visited the school.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
So it breaks down barriers, in both ways
Yeah, for
in
sure.
that.
Is this at the school?
Yep. This is one
Nice.
of them.
That's nice. There's another picture. That's fantastic. So how many, I know you do more than just pickleball trips, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but how
Mhm.
many actual pickleball trips do you have every year?
I've started doing this in about 2023, and I'm trying to figure out, like, what is the reasonable amount of trips? I've
Right.
probably done about a dozen a year, which is a lot, and so I'm kind of regrouping and kind of seeing what, is reasonable. And I'm also expanding on where I take these trips and including more travel, because as the all-inclusive resort is really a wonderful thing for a certain type of pickleball trip, but there are people now that want to come back and continue to travel with me and have a travel experience. So,
Yeah.
places nowadays you can find pickleball in so many parts of the world. I'm in a group called Pickleball Changes Lives.
Oh,
And in this group, there are people from literally all over the world, and many from African countries nowadays. So I'm starting to think about how to incorporate pickleball on a trip to different parts of that continent. And I can talk to you now or later in this podcast, but I do also have a fundraiser for a group in Uganda called the Dream Team Pickleball Academy.
let's go ahead and talk about it now.
Want to talk about that now? So
Yeah.
I met this person through Facebook. His name is Kabanda Shafiq, and he posted a bunch of things with kids. And as I said before, I've been an educator, for most of my life, and that's really my calling and passion, is to work with youth. And his intention is to work with underserved youth through pickleball to elevate lives. And
Wow.
yeah,
That's
and
right up
so
your alley.
it is. And so you can find this group if you look on Facebook and look up Dream Team Pickleball Academy, Uganda. You'll see the incredible work that he's doing. And these kids can really play. And he's now getting girls involved, which is huge, because in villages like this, the girls and the women are the ones that typically will spend their entire day literally walking to get water that actually isn't clean. So
Right.
I have a friend, Martha Hoffman, who runs an organization that's right in my hometown called Call to Care Uganda. And I said, Martha, can we build a well? That's what she does. And really, like, completely transforms a village when a well is there and water is accessible. People can have an education. They can be free from diseases that, 1,000 children die a day. I think it's crazy numbers of what happens with, water that's not
Yeah.
clean. So I'm putting together a fundraiser, and I'm starting something called the Carpe Dinkum Giving Club. And my dream is that every pickleball player, and there's like 14 million of them in the country, will donate once a year and will fund a well, and other valuable causes could be offered through the good of pickleball.
Nice. That's wonderful. Do you have plans to go to Uganda?
Yes, I am in the process of building a trip to Uganda and
Okay.
visiting the dream team, and also doing some other things again to see the country and
Yeah.
experience it as well.
Yes. That's fantastic. I'm curious. So it looks like some more school pictures. Were you playing pickleball for very long before you said, I got to incorporate this into my travel plans?
I have been playing pickleball since about 2012, and
Okay.
there's a funny story that goes along with that, because I started on a place called Fry Island in Maine when people from the villages came and shared it there, the Florida, the community there, and took over a little bit of the tennis courts and said, let's try this game. And it took hold. And at the time, my husband said, I know this game. And he recalled childhood memories in Washington State, where the game has invented, that he was there at the beginning of when this all started. And his family actually hosted political fundraisers for a person named Senator Joel Pritchard,
Yep.
who was known to have invented the game in 1965 on Bainbridge Island. Well, the fundraisers took place on Whidbey Island some years before 1965, and they played a game called Pickle Pong, and they got pickled, and his aunt made gherkins pickles. So when you connect the dots, my husband's family actually initiated pickleball.
That's
And
amazing.
he
And
wrote a book. And the book, actually, the cover is there. I can grab one, but it's called The Curious History of Pickleball from its Origins as Pickle Pong. And it tells a hilarious story of the origins of the game
well,
pre-pickleball.
yeah, I'm in Seattle, so
Oh, okay. So you know that
I
whole
didn't
thing.
I
Yeah.
didn't even know. I know some of that, but I didn't know all of
Yep.
that for sure.
Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
So I'll send you a copy of the book, Karen. You can give me your
Okay.
address.
That's great. And these school pictures are fantastic. They have a very nice court there, don't they?
Yeah. So to answer your question, so I've been playing for a while, and then I did run a small school, an experientially based middle school, and for 14 years, from 2009 to 2022, and it shifted gears. So I was looking for something else, to sort of do, as that wasn't a full-time program. And I got into the travel industry, and I started working for an agency in Los Angeles called All Travel. And between the two of us, somehow got this idea to run pickleball group trips. They wanted to do some group travel, and I was into pickleball. And so the match happened, and that's when I started. It was 2023 when I did my first trip, and it's really, growing and evolving.
It's fascinating how the right connections are made and these things grow and grow. There's a lot of people there. So
Yep. And that's the school those are the kids that we worked with, and scattered amongst them are the people from my group.
so the people that come on the trip with you, how good at pickleball do they have to be?
All levels. We take
Okay.
beginners. Generally they're sort of mid-range players. They might be a little more advanced. I don't do a trip that's meant to be training for tournament and competition, but higher level players will get something out of it. But I would say for the most part, they're kind of mid-level, intermediate to advanced, players, and beginners as well. People that have never played at all. This would be a great foundation to, come at. My coaches are really about learning how to play the game, but they're bringing joy to it, because the thing that, when pickleball has become so popular, it's like an adult play date. It's like you go out and you have friends and you play, and you have to be careful. There's, stories of injuries and that kind of thing. And I always bring an exercise and a sort of the body component to my trips to learn stretching and balancing and in different ways. But it's a social sport, and literally, people talk about how pickleball has restarted their lives. In their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. I've had people in their 80s come on my trips as well.
Yeah. I can't believe how many of my 70-year-old friends are playing pickleball.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's wonderful because it's getting them out and active. So that's great.
Exactly. It is. Yep.
Yeah, such beautiful pictures. And everyone is so happy, so joyous. I think
hmm
that's wonderful. So tell me a little bit about, oh, this is just a little bit different, but so this looks like all adults here. Yes?
These
Is it-
are actually women. I and Turks and Caicos have connected with a group called the Women in Sports of Turks and Caicos, and the Turks and Caicos Island Football Association has a group called Girls on a Mission. So that was the group that I connected with for my With Heart experience, and it was amazing. And we went to their campus, which is where we are in this photo, and did
Okay.
some 3v3 soccer. And then they came to the resort and we taught them pickleball, and we did some pickle yoga, because at that point I had a yoga instructor as part of my group, and empowerment
Oops.
and
Oops.
leadership for young girls. And so this is a sisterhood of pickleball trip, and we have a lot of fun on those. It's very
Okay.
sisterly and
Nice. Nice.
women's focused trips.
Okay, so these pickleball trips, they look fantastic. But let's talk a little bit now. I'll stop sharing. I think that's the
Okay.
last pickleball photo. Let's talk a little bit about what else you do because,
Sure.
like you said, everything you want to put heart in it. It's communities. What are some of the other kind of trips that you do or activities that you have?
So I have sort of three buckets, I guess you call them. One is the pickleball, and the other is women's trips and retreats. I'm a drummer, and I love kind of ritual and connection and the power that happens when women are together. So I am working with a couple of other women, and we have a group of 4 women designing trips for women, and all sorts of retreats. So these are things that are in process of really being launched in different ways that can provide connection to the inner world and how to be in the outer world. I've recently completed an experience design course with an organization called the Transformational Travel Council.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. And so that really touched my heart and soul. And,
Yeah.
when I first got into the travel industry, I didn't feel like I was finding myself. And that's why I created what I call With Heart. But the Transformational Travel Council brought me to what I believe is sort of more of my tribe. And it's about regenerative experiences and, thinking more about what the experience is meant to do. Travel by nature is transformative. When you go to a new place and you find out about a new part of yourself, you can change in some way, but the integration of that takes a little more intention. And so I'm really interested in incorporating that for women. And then the third bucket is going back to my real roots of education and working with youth, is helping young people engage in a more intentional way and working with families to consider where to go in the world, how to go in the world, and bringing that kind of learning journey alive as well. So I've got my travel coaching certification, and being a mentor to youth and maybe helping people that want to have these experiences to sort of consider what's important and the whys of travel as a practice, really.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
important. It just helps get us out of our routine and expands our minds in ways we don't know. Once we get onto a different culture, time zone, cadence, you just
Yep.
never know what's going to happen.
Even simple things like the smells, the sights, our senses. I mean, we take in information through our senses, and that's what, builds our experiences. And, kind of, and your podcast being the soul of travel, it's like, what are our souls? What is that part of ourselves that can be in the world from that place that I believe is what connects us all, that we have I think we're spirits within a body. That's kind of how I approach
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
And I think that the commonality comes down to love. And that is something that, is what my With Heart is about, is recognizing that all of us are capable of love. And when the ego gets in the way, we're driven by fear. So,
True. True. I'm going to share for a minute and let you just talk for a minute about this upcoming trip you have next January.
mhm.
And I was able to find it. So I'm pretty sure you can see it. Yes?
Yep.
Okay. So this looks fantastic. This is in the Grenadines. And I
Yes.
mean, look at this. Look at these sails on the ship. That's amazing.
This is the world's largest clipper ship.
Wow,
And
really?
it's
Okay.
a company called Star Clippers, and it's a luxury vessel.
Mhm.
And we're doing a themed cruise where my husband Patrick, who is a martial arts master and healing arts master with qigong and tai chi and some other forms of, healing practices, along with a woman named Kathy Love, who wrote a book called My Self-Care Shit. And she's got a whole lot of ways that she helps people understand codependency and understand what self-care looks like. And then
Mhm.
I'll be doing some other kinds of practices as well. So that'll be part of what we do on board. But then otherwise, it's, being on a ship and taking some time to relax and decompress and
Right.
unwind and really intentionally, again, sort of understand the importance of rest to recharge.
And that's super important too, is
Yeah.
in order to be present anywhere, no matter where you
Mhm.
are in the world, you have to pay attention to your self-care as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's hard to do sometimes. I mean, we're on the go quite a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard to do. Okay, so this trip looks fantastic. So I would love for you to share again
Mhm.
your website, how people
Sure.
can reach out. Of course, it'll all be in the show notes, but
Great.
for those listening, where can we find you? More trips, all the good stuff.
Absolutely. And I do want to also just say, I'm building something called With Heart Incorporated because I do believe that it's important to offer travel to people that could otherwise not afford it. And so that's going to be my not-for-profit sort of arm of things. And I want to be able to offer ways for anyone to travel because it is there is a separation between those who can afford to travel and those who cannot. And I'd like to bridge that gap as well. So that's in process.
I love that.
Yeah.
Will there be information on your website about that?
Yes, it's in the works. So right now my website is With Heart Travel or travel and pickleball dot
Okay.
com. So either withhearttravel.com or travelandpickleball.com, and you'll kind of find me. But I'm, like I said, building a unified way to get to both and all.
Right. And I love these journeys that you do around the world that are with heart. That one that I shared, the Grenadines
Mhm.
one,
Yep.
will you be stopping somewhere at either a school or a community and doing some kind of, I
Yes.
don't know. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Nice.
There will be a giving exchange of some sort of connection on that as well.
Fantastic. What a great way to experience local culture. So thank you for doing that.
I hope so.
And thank you so much for being on the show today. I look forward to talking to you again sometime.
I hope so,
And
Karen.
I love the work you're doing. So thank you. And thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for this opportunity. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And I will connect with you later. So bye bye.